Today, let's talk about people who simply have to ruin the perfect date. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my daughter and messing up her date? This weekend, my daughter and I went to a party with a group of my friends. Some of them brought their kids with them. My daughter hit it off with one of my friend's son, who she hadn't met before. We were drinking and I overheard them talking about potentially going on a date. It was clear they were interested in each other, from their behavior during the party, so I wasn't surprised. I love my daughter more than anything, and I want her to be happy. She deserves to be happy. I went over there when they were planning the date and said, kind of joking, that Logan, my friend's son, wasn't right for my daughter and that he can get that idea out of his head. They asked, why? I said Logan was only 22 and my daughter was 25. She needs someone who is financially stable and he's still starting off. I joked, maybe in 5 years, but right now he's just a kid. She needs a man. He laughed and said he understood, no hard feelings. He knows I just want the best for my kid. I said he was a sweet kid, but not the right person for my daughter. I didn't realize she was mad at me until we drove home. Who could have imagined? She gave me the silent treatment and then didn't talk to me for the rest of the weekend, saying that I ruined her date and embarrassed her. Am I the a-hole here? I was just looking out for her. Her being so upset is strange, honestly. No, it is not. I can very confidently say that OP is the a-hole here. These kids are 22 and 25. That matches for me. Even their brains are fully developed. So, they're adults, they like each other, they hit it off. Perfect! Before you came along and ruined everything, let them make their own mistakes. You're the a-hole. Always creepy when a dad thinks he has autonomy over his adult daughter's dating life. OP's acting like they're going to get married after a single day too. Like they're one iced latte and a muffin away from saying I do. You're the a-hole. Not your decision to make. And also, you weren't joking. As a side note, it's interesting to see who assumes OP is the father, who assumes OP is the mother. I caught myself assuming that OP is the father based on how they challenged OP's masculinity, only to realize it's not explicitly stated one way or the other. You're the a-hole. This is how you painted yourself in the best light. I shudder to think at what else might have been said. Also, nobody buys that you were joking. You made yourself look like an a-hole and everybody knows it. Apologies are the best route to take. Everybody agrees OP's the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for ruining my neighbor's perfect date? I, 25 male, recently got a new car. My old car was terrible and barely worked. I live in a pretty chill neighborhood and my nearest neighbor always talks to me when we go out to put out the bins or if I'm mowing the lawn. He's a chill dude and never really been rude. This all happened yesterday night. I was watching Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom when I suddenly heard a knock on my door. It was 10 p.m. It was my neighbor. He was wearing a suit and he asked if he could borrow my car. I have never been in his car and he had never been in my old car. However, I had seen his car. It is a 4WD and it is more expensive than mine. I asked why and he told me that my car has no scratches and it would really impress his date. He also said that my car doesn't have any dents while his does. I told him that I won't allow him to use my car, especially since I have never seen him drive. He took offense to this and asked if I thought he was a bad driver, and that I just had to say no and there was no need to clarify. I thought it was appropriate to give him a reason, so he won't think I don't like him. In the morning he called me an a-hole because his date made fun of his car because of his dent, and she called him a shot, replace O with I. And she called him a bad driver, and that was the only problem with his date. I don't know who this date was because his car dent is barely visible. So now he won't talk to me, and whenever I try talking to him, he calls me an a-hole and goes into his house. Am I the a-hole for ruining his perfect date? Wow, she called him a bad driver. Poor baby. Worst insult ever. And clearly this date was not picture perfect. She probably wasn't into him and he was way too touchy about it. And now he blames his car and his neighbor, really anything but himself. Not the a-hole. First of all, like some have said, it's just an insane request. Insurance won't cover it if anything happens. And secondly, what does he think is going to happen when she comes for another date and sees his car on your driveway? A real case of two lost brain cells fighting over third place. I went out with a guy who had a hole in the bottom of his old white Isuzu SUV. I just laughed with him and he told me to be careful and not to jam a foot through, and got in, and we had a great time. 15 years later, he's still my favorite person to laugh with, and we have nice cars, nice home, and a boat. She was a walking red flag, and that guy is better off knowing it now. Not the a-hole. Ah, how cute! That's what happens when the problem is not really the car, but the person you date. Not the a-hole, it's your car and your neighbor picked a bad girl to go on a date with. Or maybe he really is a bad driver and scared his date to death and she called it over and out. Not the a-hole. It was my neighbor. He was wearing a suit and he asked if he could borrow my car. This is ridiculous. A hard no is the only reasonable answer. Alright, it's a hard no, OP's not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for ruining a date? I, 34 male, had a date last night with a pretty nice woman. We seemed to be hitting it off pretty well, for the most part. The conversation led to our beliefs on marriage and kids. I told her I wouldn't get married without a prenup, and I have zero interest in having another kid. This seemed to really annoy her. She told me that I am selfish if I would want a prenup and that I am essentially giving up on marriage before it even has a chance. In my defense, I make really good money and have absolutely no interest in supporting an ex. She then went off about how it's selfish not to want another kid, because she hasn't had one. I told her I respect her feelings, but I could tell we are on two different wavelengths. I told her I was calling it a night. I paid the bill and left. When I got home, she was blowing up my phone. She was calling me an a-hole and told me that I am going to die alone. I told her that's okay. I like being alone. So, am I the a-hole? What's wrong with her? In what universe is OP the a-hole here? They just met. It was the very first date. They clearly did not match. Just leave OP alone, please. My husband and I discussed the fact we both didn't want any kids right up front. You did the right thing by being honest. And I mean, being clear with her helped you dodge a major bullet or missile of issues and crazy. In the end, her telling you that you'll die alone because you want what you want is all you need to know about her, not the a-hole. So weird. He's wasted none of her time. It's the first date. She wants at least one bio kid. She can go find a baby daddy who's interested. I think it was also the last date. Alright you guys, that's it for today. Have a lovely, lovely day and see you in my next video.